One of the most striking features of the western United States is its overall aridity and susceptibility to drought. Relationships to water profoundly shape life in this region. This case study of the Bear River watershed illustrates how wildlife and people have been vulnerable and have adapted to the hydrologic variability of this watershed. People in this region have long wrestled with how to efficiently and equitably allocate scarce and unpredictable water supplies. Balancing these two objectives depends upon how people come to know the river and its ecology and come to know each other. This has led to seemingly paradoxical outcomes that can be understood through a rationality imposed by locality.
The Bear River watershed is fully contained within the states of Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming, and is a sub-basin of the Great Salt Lake watershed. The river starts in the high Uinta Mountains of Utah, then crosses state boundaries 5 times, from Utah to Wyoming to Utah to Wyoming to Idaho to Utah, before ending up in the Great Salt Lake. The river is approximately 500 miles long and is diverted to store water in an ecologically unique lake, Bear Lake, and empties into the Great Salt Lake at the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. The Bear River watershed is characterized by a highly variable, snow-driven, montane ecosystem. The flora and fauna of this region have adapted to drought either by tolerating it or, in the case of many birds, avoiding it by migrating elsewhere. In contrast, people have adapted to this hydroecologic reality by capturing and storing high seasonal and interannual river flows for controlled release and use during dry periods. Rich agricultural areas in the lower reaches of the Bear River watershed, north of Salt Lake City, Utah, were developed by Mormon settlers in the latter part of the 19th century. The right to water in the West is based on a first-come, first-served basis under prior appropriation water law. In the Bear River watershed, large senior water rights were secured by these early farmers, located at the end of the river. The river was hydrologically manipulated to coordinate the practical delivery of water to meet these legal priorities. The Bear River watershed is unique in 2 respects. First, the majority of the water rights in the lower section of the river, downstream of Bear Lake, came to be held by a private power company, PacifiCorp, which delivers water to irrigators and supplements natural flow water with storage water from Bear Lake when necessary. Second, the Bear River watershed is rare for not having a major federal reclamation project and corresponding bureaucratic presence, so local institutions have primarily managed Bear River water. The Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge is located at the river's delta, where it enters the Great Salt Lake. The refuge is a national wildlife refuge managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. These desert wetlands are not only a critical part of the Great Salt Lake ecosystem, but are internationally significant for migratory birds on the Pacific Flyway. The refuge occupies an important position in the landscape that is critical and problematic. Ecologically, it is at the nexus of river and lake environments. Geopolitically, it occupies an important nexus between public and private lands and between rural and urban communities. Legally, its water rights are at the nexus of senior and junior, as well as municipal and agricultural water rights. Management of the refuge is largely driven by water availability, which is influenced not only by climatic and hydrologic realities, but by the way the refuge relates to other interests in this multidimensional nexus that it occupies. Today, the Bear River is a fully appropriated and a highly manipulated and managed hydrologic system. Sustaining water ecosystem services and addressing environmental equity while responding to drought and predicted climate change is shaped in this contextual reality.
People in the Bear River watershed have worked to decrease their vulnerabilities to aridity and drought by understanding their hydrologic interdependencies. Knowledge of and experience with these interdependencies deepened over time as people wrestled with efficiency and equity issues and engaged in conflict and cooperation through responding to previous droughts. Consequently, they built a legal, institutional, and engineered infrastructure around what they had come to know about water and what they had come to know about each other. However, human adaptation in the watershed has created its own set of ecological and social vulnerabilities. The system is already drought-prone, and Western water law pressures water managers to fully allocate and utilize Bear River water. This leaves less flexibility to cope with more severe droughts that climate change science is predicting for the Intermountain West region. In addition, they remain vulnerable to larger, more powerful entities outside the watershed, located along the Wasatch Front in the greater Ogden, Salt Lake City, Provo metropolitan corridor. Similarly, the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge remains vulnerable to water users both upstream and downstream, and to more senior water rights holders that threaten to decrease the water available for the wetlands. These hydrological, ecological, and social vulnerabilities are linked, and every action on the river affects the health of the whole system. People's ways of understanding and dealing with these linked vulnerabilities has led to seemingly paradoxical outcomes.